Hey, it's your friendly neighborhood Potato Witch. Welcome to the show. When I've highlighted game demos on this channel in the past, I stuck with one game per video. But frankly, there are too many cool games coming out for me to just keep doing that. So from here on out, I'll be covering multiple game demos in each demo reel video. Just seems like the most logical option when I want to draw attention to so many awesome games. So with that in mind, let's take a look at a batch of game demos that I played recently. Voice of Cards: The Isle Dragon Roars is a game with an absolute mouthful of a name, but a really simple premise. Basically, it's cards. Everything is cards. People are cards, items are cards, equipment is cards, the terrain is laid out with a pattern of cards. It plays out, though, very much like a classic fantasy RPG. The demo features 3 characters, Winifred, Berwin, and Hedwyn, disciples of the Ivory Order who are tasked by Queen Nilla to recover the stolen treasure. And I'm already trying not to chuckle over the sheer deluge of white everywhere. I get theming, but yeesh, this is a lot. The card aspect of the game really is mostly a gimmick though, and if you're someone who is at first put off by wondering if Voice of Cards is like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or some other such card game, then don't worry. If you have experience with RPGs, you'll be fine here. You attack with regular attacks or magic, you use items, you move around the world, all of the familiar elements are the same, it's just that they're given a card layout. Honestly, it makes the game feel very much like a visual representation of something I could be playing with my friends at my kitchen table. The terrain cards aren't exactly a grid, but close enough. Cards to represent characters and items and abilities would be perfectly suited to a group of TTRPG players who are deep into a session, which I admit isn't typically my thing, but then again I'm also a loner and we're still living during the pandemic years. Nobody's sitting at my table but a bunch of cats. Anyway, that aspect, combined with the game's ambient music, made playing through the demo for Voice of Cards feel like a really chill experience. No big rush to see what comes next, no pulse-pounding action, but instead a calm focus on storytelling and slow but steady advancement. And that is precisely what endeared me to the game and its concept. I love a good "the world is ending and we only have a week to save it" story, but sometimes I also just want to sit back and enjoy a classic adventure at my own pace. The whole thing feeling akin to a tabletop adventure made the random battles and events feel really integrated into the general progression, not interrupting anything, but a smooth flow from one thing to the next. I was surprised at how well that worked actually. That the game has a narrator also lends to the tabletop-esque experience. Armed with good descriptions and dry humor, the narration feels like a game master drawing players along in their story. Legit, this demo not only made me want to play the full version when I can, but also made me want to get more into card games. That's decently impressive, I have to say. Voice of Cards: The Isle Dragon Roars releases on October 28th on PC, Switch, and PS4. If you want a good, relaxing, classic RPG adventure, I highly recommend checking this one out. Next up, we have Mana Finder, an indie RPG developed and published by Wolf's Den LLC. It's very much an old-school style turn-based fantasy RPG with some really nice pixel art and music. You play as Lambda, a woman who was recently exiled from the city of Mana Hill because reasons, that's why. Mana Hill is protected from the dangerous beasts of the wild by a holy barrier, and on the other side, where Lambda and her fellow exiles are tossed, it's full of dangers and death and a low survival rate. Lambda seems to be pretty good at fighting though, and as such she's the only one to survive, eventually finding herself at an exile's village known as the Settlement, where there's a guy who laughs in the most terrifying manner. Mana Finder looks like it has a lot of love and attention put into it. Battles are more than a simple button-mashing affair, as you don't equip weapons so much as acquire them. Each one has a different strength, and you can pick which weapons to use against which enemy, using whichever one is the most suitable for the situation. Enemies can be seen on the overworld map, looking like creepy shadow things, and you can run from them if you don't feel like fighting, but you might not always be in a place where you can escape, so use this option sparingly. You've got regular enemies, and then stronger versions of those enemies, which can be hunted and trophies exchanged for rare useful items. What I found most interesting though was the growth system. After battles you gain spirit dust, which both is and isn't like experience points. You do need certain amounts to increase in level, so in that way it's exactly like standard experience points, but instead of leveling up as you go, instead you pray to the gods and offer them your accumulated spirit dust, and that's what raises your level. You also gain blessing points this way, which you can exchange with other gods to increase your stats or learn new magic. It's really neat, and it shifts the focus from mindless grinding to more thoughtful planning, figuring out what you want to focus on as you go, and gaining strength in leaps and bounds rather than little by little. I think it'll be interesting to see how the difficulty progression will be balanced out by this style of gameplay. Mana Finder is advertised to have 8 to 12 hours of gameplay, so as far as RPGs go, it'll be fairly short and sweet, which is no bad thing. It has a tentative release date of sometime in 2022, so if this sounds like something that appeals to you, then don't forget to wishlist it over on Steam so you can be notified when the full game drops. I know it's one I'll be keeping a close eye on. Just please save me from this guy's laugh. Next up is Potato Flowers in Full Bloom, which, I mean, that name is just awesome, and very fitting for the Potato Witch to play. There's no release date currently announced for this game, which is a shame because after playing the demo, yeah, I kinda want more. The graphics and gameplay might seem fairly simplistic at first, but I'm not one to get hung up on aesthetics like that. Potato Flowers in Full Bloom seems to be a fairly comprehensive little dungeon crawler, where you take a party of adventurers and explore mazes and dungeons for treasure and to help the locals. You control a party of 3, so while there are a number of character classes to choose from, you have to balance your party according to your playstyle, since you can't have one of everything. Characters are recruited in town, and by recruited, I mean you can basically make them from scratch, giving them names and tweaking their appearance until you have exactly what you want. I mean, how else would I manage to get a party comprised of Dingus, Goober, and Wiggly-Woo? You think those names got randomly generated? I should be so lucky. While exploring the dungeons, your party will encounter people whom you need to help, or who might sell you things, simple puzzles to solve, shortcuts to unlock for easier travel if and when you come back, and enemies that you can defeat in fairly standard turn-based combat. There's a bit more strategy than just mashing the confirm button until you win, thankfully, so Potato Flowers in Full Bloom can definitely keep you on your toes, and I like that. The demo doesn't seem to be hugely involved at the moment, but quite frankly, even if the main game doesn't go beyond dungeon crawling for cool loot, I can see myself enjoying this quite a bit. Sometimes a dungeon crawl is good for the soul. Not every game needs to be hugely revolutionary and genre redefining. Sometimes we all just need some nice stabbing and looting to make us feel better after a tough day. Yep, that comment can't possibly be taken out of context. So yeah, I'm into it. It's charming, it's simple in all the right ways, and I enjoyed my time with it. I'd love to see what it becomes when it's all polished up and ready for a full release. The demo is currently available on Steam if anyone wants to give it a try. There were a bunch of other demos that I wanted to highlight in this video, but sadly I either got to them too late and the demo was taken down from Steam, or the demos just ran like crap on my computer. Probably more of a problem with my computer than the demo, but since I couldn't be sure, and since I didn't want to show off any weird substandard footage, I figured it was best to just cut those ones from my list for now. But I do want to draw attention to 2 of them, even if I couldn't play the demos. First is Harvest Days, something I heard was pitched as a sort of open-world Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon type of game, and that sounds right up my alley. I really enjoy farming life sim games like that, and I'm always looking for new and innovative takes on the genre, so Harvest Days looks like it will be a lot of fun, even if I did miss the demo's availability window by a few days. Also on that list was Ikai, a psychological horror game that heavily involves Japanese folklore. I might be a wuss when it comes to horror games, but J-horror is absolutely my thing, as is folklore, and I just kinda wanted to have the crap scared out of me by at least one Yurei this year. That one I couldn't play because the demo just wouldn't work right, and I'm pretty sure the problem is my computer rather than the game, since lots of other people seem to be able to get it to work just fine. Oh well. Anyway, thanks for watching this first demo reel video where I highlight multiple game demos instead of just one. If you want to try any of these demos for yourself, I've put links to them in the description below, including the ones I couldn't play. Definitely check them out if they sound interesting, and if you like them, spread the word on social media so that more people know about them. Also, let me know in the comments if you found any awesome game demos that you think I should take a look at. I'm always on the lookout for cool new games. If you liked this video, please do feel free to click that little like button. It helps me know I'm doing something that people enjoy. If you've enjoyed this and any other of my videos, consider subscribing if you haven't already, because I've got a lot more videos planned for the future and your support means so much. This channel has seen some amazing growth over the past month, and I am just astounded that so many people seem interested in what I'm doing. In the meantime, friends, stay safe and happy gaming.